Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of Reddit Podcast Stories, where today, I don't think your kid will like my candy, lady, but whatever. So there's only a week left of summer. I decided to take the kids to the local amusement and water park today. As I've gotten older, the rides have gotten a little tougher on me. In addition, my daughter tends to get motion sickness rather easily. I don't like the way that motion sickness pills make me feel, so I always take a Ziploc baggie full of ginger candy along to prevent and soothe nausea. Today, I had chewy mango ginger candies, hard plain ginger candies, and hard lemon ginger candies. For those who have never had these before, they're spicy. The lemon ginger is probably the mildest. The plain ginger is just plain hot. The mango ones are sweet and spicy, but they also stick to your teeth like crazy. They're definitely an acquired taste. As we're standing in line for the log ride, I pulled out my baggie. I choose a lemon one, as does my son, who's 13. My daughter, who's 12, asked for a mango one. While I'm fishing a mango one out, I hear the kid in front of us tell his mom that he, around 7, wants some candy. His mom distractedly says she doesn't have any candy. The boy says, "But she does." He turns to me and asks for one. I tell him I don't really think he'd like my candy. By this time, his mom has focused in on the interaction. As the kid starts to whine that, of course, he wants my candy, his mom just huffs and says, "You've got a whole baggie. Can't you just give him one? Come on, don't be greedy." Oh, you said the magic word there, lady. I say, all right, and I dig out a lemon one. I'm not completely heartless. That's when the kid whines that he wants mango. Mango is his favorite. I tell him lemon is better, but he insists on mango. I tell him it's kind of sticky as I hand it over. The kid rips into it and starts chewing on it while my kids are just staring at him. Then he actually starts to taste it and a look of horror comes over his face. He screams and tries to spit it out. He's jumping around and flapping his arms. His mom is panicking and asking what's wrong. He's screaming that it's bad and it's hot and he wants it out. His mom tells him to spit it out. That's when I pipe up with the very helpful, "It's really sticky. What's left is probably stuck in his teeth. He'll have to wait for it to melt off if he doesn't want to chew it." The mom looks at me in disbelief and a shrug. Then she asks what the heck I gave him. Probably should have asked that sooner, lady. I answer, "It's ginger candy. It's good for nausea." I'm pretty sure if looks could kill, I wouldn't be here right now. We got to move up in line 2 spaces though, because she whisked her kid off to the water fountain. I'd like to think the kid will think twice about demanding things from strangers from now on. Plus, it was entertaining. Overall, the kids and I counted it as a win. Am I the jerk for telling my fiance that his best friend can't be his best man? I know how it sounds. My fiance, who's 29, is an amazing guy. He's sweet, funny, attractive, and hardworking. I, 29 female, was impressed with him from the moment I met him, and we've been together for 6 years now. We're devoted to each other and working towards building our shared life. We each put a percentage of our earnings into 2 funds, one for our wedding, which is a year away, and another for a down payment on a house. We each pay the same percentage, but I pay a much larger amount because I went into a higher income field. We budgeted it out pretty well. At this rate, we'll have enough to buy a home around the same time as our wedding, as we planned. As to the wedding, we both wanted a small one, and my fiance and I decided to have a destination wedding. We're paying for the entire wedding ourselves. My family's pretty poor, so I've always been saving a portion of my remaining paycheck to be able to pay for all of them to come to the wedding for free. I'm also paying for one of my bridesmaids who went into teaching and doesn't make much. My fiance wouldn't really have the disposable cash to do that, but his family can afford to pay. They're somewhat wealthy, and they're happy to take the vacation. The problem arose last week. My fiance's best friend, Tom, who's 30, who he asked to be his best man, got into an accident. It was likely entirely his fault as he was riding his motorcycle and he'd been drinking. He suffered significant injuries, is going to have some major medical bills, and admitted to my fiance he doesn't think he can afford to come to our wedding. My fiance wants us to pay for him several $1,000s and lend him money to help cover his medical bills. But especially with everything going on, my fiance does not have and is unlikely to be able to get the money to do either. I could afford to do both, but I don't want to. Truthfully, I can't stand his friend. He often rides or drives after he's been drinking. He doesn't have a job. He makes snarky comments about my fiance that he insists are just jokes, but that I know actually affect my fiance, and he lives in his parents' basement while ignoring their well-being. I was willing to have him up there as best man because my fiance considers him a brother and it's his choice. I wasn't happy about it, but I wasn't able to throw a tantrum about it. But with everything going on, my fiance has suggested taking a huge chunk of our savings for a house to help, and I said no. We got in a huge fight, and he called me selfish and cruel, at which point I lost it. I told him his loser friend did this to himself and that there was no way in heck I'd be paying anything for his friend. I ended by saying, if he can't afford to come, he can't be your best man. He hasn't spoken to me since last night and slept on the couch. While I still think I'm on solid footing, I'm starting to wonder if I went too far. Am I the jerk? Just wanted to clarify, I'm not paying for most of my friends. Most of our friends are young, without kids, and they have good incomes, who travel a lot anyway. We chose a destination wedding in part because 2 of our close friends had one last year that a group of us went to and enjoyed. We told our friends our plans before making arrangements and made clear that we wouldn't be upset if anyone couldn't or didn't want to join us due to the cost. The one friend I am paying for is one of my oldest friends who I knew wouldn't be able to afford it because she chose to go into teaching. She also came to the wedding last year after several of us pooled funds to pay for her because she chose a meaningful, needed, and underpaid profession. Since I wanted her as a bridesmaid, I just told her straight up that I would pay for her. Same with my family. They mostly don't have much money, so I've been putting aside part of my paycheck, outside of what we put into our shared accounts, to pay for it. If I wasn't spending it on them, that money would be going into my retirement account. I'm able to do that because I chose a more stressful position to ensure I'd be able to build up funds. My fiancé intentionally chose a less demanding profession that he really enjoys, but that pays way less than he could make with his degree because he has a lot of concerns about money. His family are well off, so he never worried about being able to pay for their retirement or medical care. As a result, he has more free time, more enjoyment of his job, but does not have disposable cash right now. So I'm happy to pay for my friend and my family because I chose to sacrifice a lot of career enjoyment to ensure I would be able to have extra money for things like this, and my friend and family have done nothing wrong. His friend doesn't deserve anything from me, and moreover, I'm not interested in enabling his horrible behaviors by bailing him out and paying for a free vacation. I'm not actually paying for my friend or family out of the joint account. Update. It's been a little over 2 months since my original post, and a lot has happened since. In the days after that argument, my fiancé and I had a number of heart-to-hearts. We each apologized for how we behaved. He admitted that his friend had done some terrible things, and after some soul-searching, that he and his friend do not have a healthy relationship. He loves the guy, as his friend had been there for him through some tough times, but he knows Tom needs to change. I thought hard about several of the comments made on the original post and made a tough choice. I told him that I hated the idea of bailing Tom out and would never agree to help him with medical bills, but provided Tom made some effort to change, I would pay for him to come to the wedding with my own separate funds. I love my fiancé more than anything, and I don't want anything to mar our wedding or the start of our marriage. Long story short, we sat down with Tom's parents, who were also fed up with him and had previously refused to help him, to discuss the best way that we could. We all ultimately agreed that we would cover some of his costs, us the wedding and his parents the medical bills, but only if he accepted responsibility for what he had done and hit some concrete milestones towards changing, including successfully completing a program at an inpatient treatment facility for his addictions. All 4 of us sat down with him to make this offer. I won't go into details, but it didn't go well. My fiancé finally lost it and told Tom that he had stuck by him through years of bad choices, and that if Tom wouldn't get help, he didn't even want him as a friend, much less a best man. Tom told us all to buzz off. We hadn't seen or heard from him since then, and it's been incredibly hard on my fiancé. Then, this past weekend, my fiancé received a text from Tom. It wasn't long, but thanked him for everything he had done for Tom, apologized for everything, and let him know that he was on his way to a treatment facility. He hoped that he could stand at my fiancé's side at our wedding like my fiancé had always stood at his. My fiancé's trying to be cautious, but it clearly meant so much to him, and I know he believes against all odds that his friend will become a better man. I have my doubts, but you know what? I hope he does too. Am I the jerk for not giving my sister her share of the college fund? A little backstory. We came from an extremely unfair family. For example, my brother got a car, 75% of our parents' estate, a big farm, land, and all the machinery for it, and they paid for his college. My older sister had to take out loans so she could finish her education. I never went to college because of my undiagnosed ADHD. Now I'm in therapy and starting to become okay-ish, but I have money because of sheer dumb luck. My younger sister, who's 22, started college 2 years ago. My parents offered to pay to rent a room after she didn't get a scholarship and a room in the dorms. I offered to pay her tuition and some extras for groceries, stating that I put aside a college fund for all girls in our family, my 2 daughters, my sister, a younger cousin, and a niece. This is just one account, and in my will, it states it has to be divided between these girls. My sister is the oldest, and everyone else is between 6 to 12, for college expenses, and the ones who already finished college by the time I die get nothing from that account. If I have more nieces, I'll add them too. Now to the problem. My sister decided to drop out, get pregnant, and marry her boyfriend/fiance of 6 months. I try not to be disappointed. I am, but I should stop talking about it. Today was the big announcement. I knew it beforehand so I could act all happy. And after the lunch, she pulled me aside and asked for the leftover of her college fund. I explained to her that there is no her fund. I already did this when she started college, and I'll be happy to pay for her tuition if she goes back someday, but she has to give me proof that she goes to college. She pocketed the last semester's payment because she failed to inform me about her dropping out, and I sent her the money. She freaked out because she counted on that money for a down payment for a 3-bedroom apartment, co-owning with fiancé, but I stood firm in my decision. She accused me of trying to control her with my money and punishing her because she chose a different path in life, being a stay-at-home mom and not having a career. I'm only doing this because I watched our older sister struggle through college because even though she had a scholarship and student loans, she was broke. She lived in a crappy studio apartment with a weirdo roommate. She had to skip meals when she ran out of care packages from home. Update. About the last semester's payment, my sister offered to pay me back. It's sitting on her account. I gifted it to her as a baby and wedding contribution from me. And the college fund was a full misunderstanding. She actually thought that it's going to be divided between all girls while I'm alive. I explained why that's not going to happen and went into great details about our older sister's college experience. She was actually horrified. So it's all good between us, and I'm going to be a little distant. I had a long talk with my mom. She tried to act happy at first about my sister's plan, but she broke down eventually. She's worried too, because sister is making the same bad decisions that mom and I did. Right now we're trying to come up with a plan, how to help sister out without helping my soon-to-be jerk brother-in-law. Just to mention, even my father is against this guy in the marriage, but he tries to be nice because he's afraid he's going to lose my sister too. And a few words about my future brother-in-law. He's already tried to isolate her, who has a codependent personality and wants to play house with anybody who's willing to try it. Hard to watch this crap show, but when everything unfolds, she needs to know she got me and my mom, maybe my dad too, in her corner. Jerk is careful with me because they need the money, but he still tried some crap stirring with me. We'll see what happens next, but one thing for sure, after they split, one of 2 marriages ending with divorce here, so the chances are high, I'm gonna find my sister a good therapist. Boss's girlfriend thinks she knows my job better than I do, so I decide to comply. The customers are not happy. Let me set the scene for you. So I've been an apprentice at a small bookstore for the past 2 years now, only recently passed my exam to make me a certified bookseller. Before that, due to a very toxic work environment during lockdown, the only other full-time working employee whom I looked up to as kind of a mentor quit barely 4 months after I started my apprenticeship, and I've had to bend over backwards ever since trying to fill the holes that were created when she left. These past 2 years have been interesting to say the least. Starting with the store itself, it's really cute. The only problem is it's drowning in old books people drop off all the time and just too much stuff cramped into too little space altogether, resulting in chaos that makes it very hard to keep everything in check and not lose track of everything. So I've learned to adapt and combat this chaos by keeping lists of basically everything, double-checking to make sure everything is in order, etc. This will come in later. Now, as for my ex-colleagues, I'm on pretty good terms with most of them, except for one. Enter my boss's girlfriend. In the beginning, I didn't get why my colleagues didn't like her very much. Now, 2 years later, she's the main reason I'll be leaving this job at the end of September, because frankly, I'm fed up. If I put everything that happened in these 2 years into this post, it would be very long, so I'll just cut to the chase. Due to the aforementioned chaos that plagues this store, I double-check everything to avoid mistakes. This includes customer orders. Basically, we get the books, I find out who the book is for, I call the customer to tell them their book is ready to be picked up by them. Sometimes people order more than one book, which is where things can get tricky because not every order arrives at the same time due to an array of factors. Adding to this, we also order used books which have nothing to do with our computer system, which makes it extra prone to forgetting about something. Because this happens a lot with orders that include more than one book, I just like to take a quick glance at the computer system to make sure nothing's missing from the order before I call. Because in the past 2 years, I've learned that people tend to get annoyed after a while if you keep calling them about an incomplete order. So say you've ordered 5 books and only 4 arrive, with the next one probably arriving the next day. We'll wait until everything is complete and then we'll call. Obviously there's exceptions, but you catch my drift. Then a few weeks back, the girlfriend noticed I was doing this and started to exclaim her dissatisfaction with the way I was handling the customer orders. She thinks doing this quick extra step costs me valuable time that could be spent elsewhere. I would like to add that she spends a lot of the afternoons in the store online shopping and being on phone calls with her daughter, and is all in all completely unnecessary. I thought she had a pretty crappy opinion, since she rarely even does customer calls. I tried to explain to her why I do things the way I do and how it prevents customers from getting annoyed. She then proceeded to tell me, "Well, it doesn't matter what you think. This is our store." This upset me because if I weren't there, the store wouldn't be running in the first place. They managed to get almost every other employee to quit with the work environment they've created the past 2 years, and I'm the only one who's in the store every day from 9 to 6. She also made it a point to tell me how she thinks it's rude that I always talk back and always have to have the last word. I took this pretty personally. I genuinely just want to bring good ideas in and make the workflow as smooth as possible, and if someone comes along with a point like this, I feel like I have to make them see my point of view. Anyways, since I won't be in the store much longer and I have run out of craps to give, I've decided to just do as she told me. Now, say you've ordered 5 books from us. 2 arrive on the first day. You get a call from us. You ask, "Really? All 5 books are there already?" "No, sorry, only 2 arrived today." Then the next day another 2 arrive. You get another call from us. You see how this gets annoying after a while, right? So yeah, I just stopped double checking and everything just kind of went downhill from there. At risk of me seeming unprofessional, but to my great satisfaction, customers are getting more and more irritated with each call, where I don't seem to know their entire order, incomplete orders, etc. It would have gotten to this point sooner or later anyways, since I'll be gone by the end of September. It just gives me that little bit of personal satisfaction after 2 years of this insanity. Am I the jerk for giving my mom the silent treatment after I found out she was pregnant? I, 20 female, always had a complicated relationship with my mother. When I was growing up, she always had problems with addiction. Basically, what I remember from my childhood with her is living with her until things got so bad that our family had to step in, moving in with them, my mom getting better, then moving back in with her, only for her to get worse and the cycle to start all over again. However, since I was 13, I live with my uncles. They're incredible, and they've always been the parents that I needed, but since then, my mother has not asked me to stay with her again. My uncles always explained that she had a disease, and her leaving me with them was proof of her love for me. You can imagine that my relationship with her has always been complicated, but I've always tried to understand that this is something that's out of her control. In the last few months, she's been on a good streak again, stopping all that crap. She's moved in with a new boyfriend, and he seems to be someone that really wants to help her out. We don't see each other much, but I try to call her at least every 15 days, and my parents always try to report to me about her improvements. However, last week, after a long time, she was the one that called me and asked me to go out. I tried not to get too excited because I already know what she's like, but at the same time, I was happy. When we met, she explained how her boyfriend has helped her to cut 100% contact with anyone who influences her to go back to her addiction, and how she wants to be a better person. She even started therapy and went to rehab for a while. I said I was very happy and asked what finally motivated her to make that decision. And then she told me that he helped her, but that the big motivator that gave her the strength is that they decided to start a family, and she wanted to meet me in person to let me know that she's pregnant. She said she needed to be better, to be present, and that's what's helping her focus on recovery. It hurt me, you know, that they were worth it, but I wasn't. I decided to leave before our lunch was even over, and I ignored all forms of contact from her thereafter. As people say, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything. However, yesterday her boyfriend called me. I answered because I didn't have his number saved, and he started yelling at me. He said I was a jerk, that for him, I would never have contact with his family because apparently no one knows where my mom is, and what hindered her improvement was my attitude. My grandparents are also angry with me, and they said that I am very irresponsible and that I didn't have emotional responsibility with someone very vulnerable. My parents said I didn't do anything wrong, but I have my doubts. Not the jerk. She shouldn't have another kid if she's so emotionally unstable with her addiction battle that she can't handle the current one having their own feelings. The new one is going to have them too. I'm 48, male. My ex-wife, who's 47, has reached out to me after years. We were married for 7 years and divorced about 15 years ago. The reason at the time was our vision for the future wasn't compatible. I wanted a family, white picket fence, etc. She wanted to remain free and travel until her last day. FYI, at the time we were married, she shared my side of the vision. There's a cliche about remaining friends, but honestly, I think we did at the beginning. She met someone and married him in 2010. He was older and had money and gave her that lifestyle. We were close enough that I was invited to the wedding and made a brief toast. Obviously, with him in her life, we drifted apart and basically played Facebook tag. When we divorced, I was depressed and got therapy, but after she was married and gallivanting around Europe and the Caribbean, I got really depressed. Therapy only helped so much. It took about 5 years to really pull through and be myself. I tried dating again and it never worked out. I honestly felt that I could never have been happier with anyone than I was with her. I regretted putting my foot down about how I wanted to live. Meanwhile, she was Facebook documenting their attempts to get pregnant, the one thing she was dead set against at all costs, to the point that she wanted to get her tubes tied just in case. Fertilization clinics, IVF, etc., but nothing took. They announced they had gotten a surrogate to carry their kid, and unfortunately it didn't work out. Her husband passed away in 2021. People only found out a month after his very private burial. I messaged her saying I would be there for her if she needed someone to talk to. I did not hear back. Aside from posting inspirational messages, etc., she went dark. On my birthday this year, I received a card from her wishing me a happy birthday, thanking me for being such an important part of her life, and saying maybe we'll be in touch soon. This last Friday, she called me. It was the first time I spoke to her directly in over a decade. It was light conversation. I didn't bring up much of the last 10 years, but she asked if I was free to get coffee or a drink today, Tuesday. She was going to be back near where I live Monday through Thursday. I agreed. Since then, we've texted a bit back and forth, being slightly more intimate. I get the sense she's testing the waters, so to speak, to see if there's interest there. From my end, it's a double-edged sword. There really would be interest in seeing where it might go, but I don't think I could handle losing her a second time. I've asked a few friends, and they've been split down the middle. Don't get involved again versus see what happens. What do you think? Has anyone ever been in this situation where a relationship was rekindled after so long? And what did you do? What red flags or things to worry about should I be looking for? Always protect your heart, man. You two are completely different people now, and you should treat it as such. Don't see it as part 2 to your previous marriage. See it as getting to know someone new. A fresh start, be it friends or romantic partners. Be open to each other, but don't be desperately hopeful for a specific outcome. Get to know each other again slowly, and, if the time comes, have an open and frank discussion about what both of your intentions are. Leave nothing vague. Maybe just go have a coffee and chat. Why does it have to go directly to thinking about the future? Check it out, see if there's anything there. If not, enjoy your coffee. I personally wouldn't if I were you, but the problem is she moved on and lived her life, unlike you. You didn't really move on from her. You became depressed, couldn't really date. You were, and probably still are, stuck on the image of you two together with a family. This isn't healthy. You should really go to a decent therapist. If you two had moved on and found your way back to each other, I'd be all for it. But not this. She might just want a rebound from her husband, and in this case, it would end horribly for you. She might want a relationship and a family and knows you're available, so why look elsewhere? I just don't see this working out. But if you want it, then go ahead and listen to what your gut feeling is telling you, and I wish you the best. Am I the jerk for telling my son he needed to move out since he has a problem sharing his food? My son, who's 26, lives in the basement suite. He has everything he needs down there. My wife won't let me charge him rent because he's saving up to buy a house. Sure he is. He has a new car, a new motorcycle, and a gaming computer that's probably worth about $5,000. I came home the other day and there was a pizza on the counter. My wife wasn't home, so I had been planning on just having a soup and sandwich for dinner, but I was happy that she had gotten me a pizza. I grabbed a couple slices and sat down to watch TV. My son came up, saw me eating pizza, and started yelling at me for eating food that he paid for himself. This is Rich. He usually eats with us every day and eats food that I pay for. I told him that it was on the counter in my house, and that made it food for me. He has his own kitchen downstairs, and that if he doesn't want me to eat his food, he should keep it down there. He didn't agree and kept yelling. I told him that it was time for him to move out. 4 years of living in my house rent-free as an employed adult was enough, and that it was time to go. He shut up, took his pizza, and went downstairs. When his mom got home, she was really upset with me. He works hard for his money, and when he buys himself a treat, I shouldn't help myself to some of it. I've pretty much had it with her too. I told her that she had to start paying for his food and utilities since she was the one who thought he should not have to pay for anything to live here. She works part-time at her parents' company and uses the money for herself. I'm the primary earner. I pay for literally everything, except her little luxuries. She pays for that stuff herself. She said that she would not. I said that I was cutting the household budget by 1/3. Her and her son were responsible for that part from now on. They're both mad at me for starting this fight over some pizza. Not the jerk. Sometimes the person completely being taken advantage of has had enough. Looks like you got to that point. Not the jerk. Freeloading son should absolutely share his pizza since you don't charge him for rent, utilities, or food, and it was reasonable for you to think that it was something to be shared given it was in your kitchen and not the kitchen your son has to himself. You're the jerk. You're an adult, and even the father here. It wouldn't have cost you anything to ask your son quick if it's his pizza before eating it. Don't explode on your son over a slice of pizza because you, passive-aggressive, are fed up instead of communicating properly earlier. Karen girlfriend denied my marriage proposal as a joke, so I called the whole thing off. I'm 25, female. My girlfriend, Molly, who's 26, for the last 6 months started a joke with me that I've already made clear that I don't like. It consists of her saying no quickly to anything I ask. I know it sounds silly, but I ask her to get a glass of water for me. She says no, and after 1 minute, I'm almost getting up, she says she's joking and gets some water. I ask her to wash the dishes. She says no. I say I love you. She says no. I ask her to take her clothes. She says no. Everything is joking, and after 30 seconds to a minute, she does it, but she's addicted to doing it. I've already made it clear several times that I don't like it, even more so in I love you. She's the only person I can say that to, so it's special to me. And there are things that are serious, and I need her to answer seriously. And if she says no to everything jokingly, I can't tell when she's saying real no. It's happened before. I keep saying this is boring and I don't like it. She stops doing it and goes back to doing it after a week. After a brief discussion, because she played this prank in front of our friends, me asking, "Love, can you get me some medicine?" And she with, "No, kidding." She stopped doing it for 1 month. Yesterday, we welcomed my parents, in-laws, and 2 of our best friends to our house. Everyone knew that I was going to propose to her, and I called them because we always planned this proposal with our loved ones attending, participating in this special day. I asked her to marry me, and she said a quick no, and I was so grumpy, panicked, and upset, everyone looked in shock. For 30 seconds for her to laugh and say that she was joking, finally saying yes. I was so embarrassed and disappointed. I put the ring back in and said that I'd go take it out to cool off. I didn't even let her say anything. She kept texting me, not answering calls, saying it was just a joke and that I knew she always did that. She said that I left a difficult situation in the house because it was very clear that I had given up on proposing and did in front of my parents and in-laws. She stressed that I was making the situation uncomfortable because of a silly joke. Well, I slept in a hotel and I'm still in it. My parents supported me, but my in-laws are calling me the jerk for giving up on proposing, disproportionately humiliating their daughter. I just really think there's time for jokes, and that moment wasn't clearly. She knew I didn't like it and decided to do it anyway. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. Why would you sign up for this permanently? Not the jerk. I used to have a boyfriend who did something similar. Every time I wanted to talk about something serious, like something that happened in the world, something that happened at work, something in our relationship, whatever it was, he would always, with 1 minute, make a joke about the subject, trying to diffuse the situation of me telling him about something I cared about and thought about, and it made me feel sad, etc. I asked him to stop 1,000 times, and he always said, it's just him joking and I shouldn't take things serious. I explained to him that this behavior made me feel like he takes nothing that concerns me serious, which he protested against and told me I try to make him look like a bad boyfriend. I tried doing it to him to make him see how it feels, and of course it would be a super drama because I would not take him seriously and I don't care about him. Yeah, right. Eventually I lost all respect and ended the relationship after 2.5 years. I couldn't and wouldn't take him seriously, and quite frankly, the disrespect towards me was making me feel grossed out by him, emotionally and physically. Of course, he complained, did not see this coming, why did I never say anything, etc. Not the jerk, and seriously, overthink this whole relationship. Girlfriend will not change, girlfriend does not respect your boundaries and feelings. She has shown you who she is, believe her. Move on and find someone who does. Not the jerk. Your girlfriend just learned a much-needed lesson on why you don't joke and say no when you mean yes. And you're not making the situation uncomfortable because of a silly joke. She is. She knew you don't like it, and honestly, who would? That would annoy anyone, but she did it anyway. What next? Is she going to jokingly say no during your ceremony? Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or their girlfriend? Please let us know. Never stay with someone who doesn't respect you. You deserve better than that. Am I the jerk for not treating my stepkids equally? I started dating Daniel 2.5 years ago, and we got married last year. Daniel has 5 kids with his ex-wife. Ava, who's 11, Jason, who's 9, Isabella, who's 6, Sophia, who's 5, and Andrew, who's 3. Daniel's ex never liked Ava. She blames Ava for leaving her trapped in a relationship with her dad. When they got divorced, she said she didn't want anything to do with Ava. Ava was 8 at the time. Ava's mom leaving but having a relationship with her siblings really took a toll on her. The weeks Ava's siblings were with their mom were the hardest because it was a constant reminder that her mom loved her siblings and not her. She would barely get out of bed those weeks, so around 2 years ago, I surprised her with a day trip to the beach. We got ice cream, we went boogie boarding, went out to eat, and went shopping. It was the first time I'd seen her smile in weeks. I noticed it was helping Ava, so we started to go out more and more. When her siblings are here, it's something small, like dinner before therapy. But when they're not here, we go camping, we go hiking, we try new restaurants, we go back to the beach, etc. And she loves it. I don't spend nearly as much one-on-one time with the other 4 kids for 2 reasons. These kids already have a mom that loves them, and they don't need it as much. It's so much easier to do anything with 1 kid than 5. When I spend time with Ava, I stick her in my Honda and we go. When I have all 5 kids, we take a big passenger van and they fight over everything. It takes twice as long to go somewhere because I keep having to pull over and break up a fight. I do take all 5 kids out 1 to 2 times a week when they're with us, but it's not usually a big trip like what I go on with Ava. We'll go to the beach 20 minutes away instead of the one almost 2 hours away. We'll go on the walking trail by our house instead of a 4-mile hike. Sometimes we have picnics in the park. The big thing this summer is the amusement park. I'll take all of the kids with their dad or their nanny. We go on some rides together. Then one of us will take the older 2 to go on all of the scary rides that they want to go on, while the other takes the younger 3 to go on the smaller rides. Then we meet up at the water park. We've done this at least once a week this summer. Recently, my husband asked me to start taking the younger 4 on day trips like the kind Ava and I go on, because they're starting to get jealous. I said I'll try to plan more fun activities, but my trips with Ava aren't suitable for all 5 kids. He said I should try to treat the kids equally and either not take Ava or take everybody. I said I will when he takes all 5 kids camping or on a 5-mile hike by himself. He called me a bad stepmom, so I wanted to know if I was the jerk. Not the jerk. Why doesn't their father do as much for his kids as you do? I think, given the circumstances, you're not doing anything wrong here, aside from the misleading title. OP. Their dad works a lot and travels a lot for work. They are his responsibility, and he should make time to be with them. He knows how his ex is treating Ava, and you're supporting Ava, but he's demanding that you stop? He is not being a good father. Well, what do you think? Should OP only take the kids on a trip if all of them can go, or not? Please let us know. Taking 5 kids out on a trip? I think that'd be enough to make my head explode. Am I the jerk for charging an 8-year-old rent? I really don't think I'm the jerk, but hear me out. He gets an allowance every week. This is for helping with the dishes, cleaning his room, and being tidy. Nothing crazy. His allowance is $25, so $100 a month. However, I want to charge the boy $20 a month for living expenses, leaving him $80. His mother thinks there's something wrong with this and that he's young, so his money should be his. My intention is to teach him about money management, as that's something that's very important to me. I have not thought about consequences if he can't pay the rent. There likely wouldn't be any. I'm available for any additional info. Edit. I am the stepfather. I can increase his allowance, but I don't think that's what makes me the jerk. I'm working, but I'll thoroughly look through the responses. I appreciate the feedback. Edit 2. Off of work now. Alright, I'm the jerk. I'm going to give the kid an allowance as I planned anyway. He can save for big purchases for himself, and we can talk about the fun stuff when he's older. I have a savings account for him already that I put money into. I appreciate the caring Redditors messaging me about calling the authorities and asking for my information. I'm glad to know you care, but that won't be necessary. I had a bad idea. I thought it was fun and everyone would win. I would like to thank you all, and I hope that you have a wonderful end to your Wednesday. The vitriol is really strong here. For clarity, father's out of the picture. I'm not stealing from his mother, and I'm providing the allowance. Besides, I've already changed my mind. Wife will have a good time reading this when she gets home. Edit 5. You are all correct in that I didn't think of the implications of taking from my son and the emotional damage that could cause or anxiety within him. That's the last thing I want. Edit. She knew I was the jerk, but feels like I set myself up for failure with this post. She's laughed until she cried, so thank you for that. Yes, this was a real idea I had and a real conversation I had with my spouse. That's not plural. I wasn't pushing anything. And clearly, there wasn't foresight in it. I hope all the parents here can learn from the comments, because truthfully, I feel like we're all just winging raising kids, and no one knows for sure what's in their best interest sometimes. There's more than one way to cook an egg, so to speak. All we can do is learn from each other and our experiences. You're the jerk for charging rent. However, having him put that money into a savings account where he could see it grow would be a better lesson. And $25 a week at 8? Lucky kid. You're the jerk. If you want to teach him the value of money and saving, continue paying him for his chores and teach him how to save and budget for things he might want. Show him how to save a percentage of his allowance and track it. There are so many more age-appropriate ways to teach your kid how to manage their money. Illegally charging them rent should never be considered one of them. My parents did crap like this to teach me money management. Guess what it taught me instead? That all interactions with my parents are monetized, that they don't actually care about me, and that I can't trust them. That's the only thing they understand is money. My father is now passed, and I barely talked to him when he was sick. I essentially do not speak to my mother. She only initiates conversations with me at this point about, shocker, money. You would be the jerk. I can see how you think this is well-intentioned, but please reconsider and think about other options for helping him learn. Well, what do you think? Would OP be the jerk for charging his 8-year-old rent or not? Please let us know. I made $5 a week when I was little if I did my chores. What about you? Do this next. Tap here on your screen to come see our new podcast playlist, where you'll find thousands of hours of the best stories you've ever heard. Or tap the one on the right. That episode is specifically just for you, based on other videos you've enjoyed the most.